Okay, so welcome everyone to today's Lunch and Learn. We welcome Julia Romano from Field Notes, and please introduce yourselves. Over to you, Julia.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me on Valentine's Day. We are going to talk about something very sexy, AI, today. And just to give you some intro myself, I'm head of customer innovation at Field Notes. So we focus on self-ethnography, and we've recently launched some AI functionalities that I'm going to show you in a bit. So this session is more about understanding AI, what kind of questions you should expect from your customers when it comes to AI, as well as what kind of questions you should ask your tech partners, as well as yourself, when it comes to the AI. So let me, my presentation. I've decided to start my presentation with the cover of a newspaper, the Virginian pilot from 1903. This is in the aftermath of the first successful tests that the Wright brothers completed with the very first plane. I can see some similarities here to ChatGPT and the launch of ChatGPT in November 2022. Of course, there is a lot of curiosity. There is the feeling that it's an innovation that's going to change the world. So lots of curiosity, but also you can see here, they call it a flying machine, which I find very interesting. Nobody was really sure what it was. And apparently the article also includes a series of kind of fake bits of news, fake information, because nobody really knew how that worked. And so they kind of filled the article with some made up information, to the point that the Wright brothers had to rectify a few days later, and just to clarify how the tool actually worked. So you can really see some similarities with the launch of ChatGPT that really sparked loads of curiosity. And as plain, ChatGPT and generative AI, it really allows us to go to places that we wouldn't be able to reach with our legs or our brains. So it's a very similar change in our world. But one of the key differences is that, of course, when the plane were completed, it took years after those tests for people to start taking places and for our lives to change. And when it comes to ChatGPT in particular, after the launch in November 2022, it reached the first 1 million users in just 3 days, which is pretty impressive if you think about it. By comparison, Instagram reached its first 1 million users after 3.5 months, and Netflix after 3 years. So you can really see the impact of generative AI. And of course, also, this is also true when it comes to our specific industry and when it comes to market research. And at Field Notes, we always say the AI is the new COVID of market research. It really revolutionized our industry almost overnight. Everybody's talking about it. Some people are still freaking out about it. And unfortunately, like it or not, it's here to stay. So when it comes to concerns and questions, I think it's important to start thinking about our end clients. I think it's especially true when you think about end clients that there are some concerns and questions around the usage of AI. And I think one of the key reasons for this is that they're a bit removed from the data collection process. So they understandably have some questions on how everything works. So thinking about your end clients, the common concerns that we see coming up are around confidentiality. Is my data secure? Are my insights secure? Are you going to push my insights in the vacuum on the internet for everyone to see them? There are questions, of course, on the value AI brings and how that works. There are questions around data privacy, especially if you're working with healthcare patient data. But in general, every time participants are involved, there are some concerns that their data won't be secure. And probably in the background, they might have some questions around what value do you bring now as a researcher if you're using AI all the time? And can I trust you with my data? So AI can be a bit of a maze. It's pretty hard to explore, but as a researcher, for you to be able to really help your end clients navigate this maze, you really need to ask the right questions yourself. You really need to get familiar with this word so they will be more confident and comfortable working with you. To make things harder, in the market research world, there's loads going on. So if you go on insight platforms that I'm sure all of you know, and you type AI in the research tool, it will return 200 AI tools for market research alone. And these, of course, include only the tools that are listed on insight platforms. So you can see that there's loads going on. It's really important to understand how these tools work to be able to navigate this landscape and at the end of the day to remain relevant. And this is an overview about the different platforms specifically in the online call world that kind of share the space with field notes. And I'm pretty sure that over the last 15 months, each and every single one of these platforms launched some sort of AI integrations, maybe with different approaches, maybe with different tools, maybe with different points of view. But you can see really there's so much going on in our industry, and it could be very hard to navigate. So once again, it's really important to ask the right questions, as we'll see later today. And before we start going through those questions, just a little note on tech partners. I used to think that you can't fake AI till you make it. I was just like, that's fine. Like whoever is doing AI has a specific expertise and a technical expertise, so that's fine. But now that everybody's jumping on the bandwagon, I have a slightly different perspective. I think you shouldn't really fake AI till you make it. There are so many things at stake. It needs to be part of a considerate approach. There are confidentiality issues that need to be addressed. There are biases, hallucinations, and we'll see in a bit. So it's not something that you can start doing overnight. And it's also very important that as any other discipline, we really approach it with critical thinking, try to understand how that works, so we can really evaluate the different options that we have in a way that makes sense for us and really allows us to make the most out of it instead of passively accepting all of the tools that are promoted, because they're really, really a lot. So my first advice, when you get familiar with AI and you start working with tech partners, is that just don't be afraid to grill us. Ask as many questions as you need. And it might be that the person you're talking to doesn't have all of the answers, because maybe it's a big organization and you're just talking to the salesperson and they're not very connected to the tech team. It's absolutely fine. And that's also me covering myself for the second part of the presentation. Well, I'm going to show you field notes, but it's really important to ask those questions. If the person you're talking to doesn't have all of the answers, they need to be able just to get those answers within their organization. And sorry, my phone is ringing. And so don't be afraid to grill us and just make sure that you get all of the answers you need. And it starts with some questions that might come up, that might sound a bit basic, but they're really important. First of all, how does it work? It's not a stupid question, so don't be afraid to ask. There are different ways for AI to work when it comes to market research or any kind of AI tool that you might want to consider. So even asking if AI is embedded on the platform that you're going to use, it's important to understand. You might want to see to know if there is an API in place between the platform that you're going to use and ChatGPT, for example, which means that the two platforms are talking to one another and the data is moved from one platform to the other. And so it's important just to get very granular and understand how that works, so you can also be confident in explaining that to your end clients. And also it's worth asking them, how can this help me? What kind of value brings? How does it make my life easier? And you will see the different platforms will probably have a different point of view. An important question to ask is, how do you help me control biases and stereotypes? Biases and stereotypes are pretty much one of the nutrients of generative AI. And we know that unfortunately society is biased. So society has some inequalities. So much of the data AI is trained on contains those biases, those prejudices. So it means that some of the results AI returns might be biased and might uphold those inequalities. So it's important to really understand how the platform you're using minimizes those issues. As an example, if I asked an image generator to create an image of someone hosting a webinar on AI, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be a young, very young woman with an accent. It would be probably the classic middle-aged white man. So you can really see the stereotypes the model is trained on might have an impact on your findings. And it's responsibility of your tech partner, in my opinion, just to put you in the position to avoid the trap of biases and stereotypes. I had promised a meme when I, when I promoted the event on LinkedIn. And I think this really explains what I mean when it comes to stereotypes and biases. So something to always keep in mind when you work with AI. And the last question that's worth mentioning is, like, what's your point of view? Don't be afraid to ask this to a tech partner. They need to have a point of view, at least at organizational level. At Philnotes, we do have an AI manifesto. It's something internal at this stage, but we're planning to make it public. It's just a bit of our North Star. It's a series of principles from a strategic, but also ethical standpoint that really drive our pipeline. They're really like the starting point every time we think about existing and future tools when it comes to AI. And because there are so many pitfalls when using AI, it's very important that whoever you work with has a clear point of view on what they're trying to do with AI, how they do it. And it's not just about adding fancy new tricks and tools to the repertoire. It needs to be part of a very considerate approach, because once again, there is so much at stake. It might not be as formalized as our approach, but as long as they have a point of view and you're able to understand their point of view, you will be fine, because then you will be able to decide if you just want to work with them and if you share that point of view, or if you don't and you want to find another solution. And lastly, there are also some questions that I think as researchers that we should ask ourselves when we work with AI. And I'm just putting them here as a bit of a provocation, just for your reflection. It's worth asking yourself, what kind of support do you need and what are you willing to delegate? I saw an interesting article from Sidi Lemine on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, and he made a good point. Start by asking yourself, what do I like doing? And that's the kind of thing you want to cling to. How do you want to use AI to delegate the things that take loads of time or maybe that you don't like doing? So use it as a tool in your repertoire. And also there's probably the question about what makes you unique. Especially when you have AI heavy tools, you can see that lazy copying and pasting from ChatGPT might really unlock opportunities for the ones who don't copy and paste. So think about what you bring to the table that makes you unique, and just try just to make sure that that shines through your work. The example I bring in this case is not really related to tech platforms, but it's about Philnotes trying to recruit a new hire a few months ago. And I received loads of cover letters, and they were all ChatGPT generated. It was absolutely the same content, the same language, the same structure. And it was a bit depressing to see, honestly. And eventually, the people we invited for an interview were the ones who decided just to put something unique to the table. They really stood out from the competition. So I think it's a similar approach that we need to have as researchers to think about really making sure that what makes you special can really shine through. And my last question and provocation for you before we move on to the Philnotes demo is what role do I want to play in this? And we know brands have the power to shape cultures. So the findings we feed our end clients kind of have that power. And if we rely on results that are biased and that really uphold some stereotypes, we're going to be part of a kind of a cycle where we just feed those results to brands. Brands shape cultures in ways that really uphold the stereotypes, and we become part of the cycle. So I personally want to break that cycle, and I think it really takes some reflection at an individual level on what you do with AI and how you ensure that you use it properly and you don't make the world an even worse place to be. So that's all for my introduction. Unless there are any questions at this stage, I'm going to show you our approach at Field Notes, and I'm going to show you how we answer some questions. And I can see the chat. I can't see the chat comments, so feel free to unmute yourself, and if you need to ask a question now. Let me just share my full screen in the meantime. All right. Sorry, we were just chatting that it's a very embarrassing working with tech and not knowing really how to use the Zoom. So apologize for this. All right. So you should be able to see my screen now and the Field Notes platform. Someone please shout if you can.
Yes, we can.
Perfect, thank you. So this is our platform. I'm not going to go through a demo on Field Notes because we're going to focus on AI today. But if anyone wants to have a proper introduction on our tools, feel free to get in touch after. But I want to stress, I want to show our approach to AI, and I want to really start with our key principles. What's our point of view and what we are trying to achieve with AI. First of all, we want to support researchers. We don't want to replace researchers. You will see that our tools really want to make your life. I see some celebrations from the audience. And yeah, our tools really don't want to replace researchers. And we just want to make your life easier and allow you to do things more quickly, really saving time. It's really about providing you with a strong foundation for your analysis so you can build your critical thinking on AI instead of using AI as your critical thinking. And also because our biases, hallucinations, stereotypes, you will see that especially our analysis tools really always provide you with supporting evidence. So as a researcher, you can always go in there and see exactly where those themes are based on, and really be more responsible and about the results and make sure that nothing you report to your clients is biased or wrong or is a result of a hallucination. And of course, we do that with keeping data, privacy and security in mind. So I'm going to show you in a second how these tools work, but it's really all about making sure that nothing is used for training purposes, everything is secure, participant data is secure, and your client data is secure. So this is our content hub. This is where all of the content uploaded on a Field Notes project lives across participants and tasks. And we really focus on video content collection. So we always have the need to analyze very large volumes of video content. So that's the reason why our first AI functionality is a AI-powered transcription and translation service that you can see here. So this uses a tool called Whisper and really allows us to translate and transcribe content with very, very high accuracy levels. I can't tell you how much better it is than Google Translate that we used in the past. Google Translate had some issues in terms of accuracy. It really struggled with some accents, including mine, unknowingly. It couldn't pick up punctuation. It really struggled with brand names. It was very hard to use in Chinese, for example, because in China they have so many dialects that not even Google could pick them up. And so we moved away from that model, and we now use AI transcription and translation. So you can see here, it's way better. You have time code, of course, you can have the transcription, or you can just have it translation. You have time codes, there is all timestamped. So you can just jump to the relevant bits of the videos. You can display and download subtitles. You have like capital letters, punctuation, so it makes life so much easier. And we've been trying these across markets, including Arabic markets, Chinese, Korean, and it's really been mind-blowing so far. This works with a tool called Whisper. It's a tool developed by the same developers at ChatGPT, so from OpenAI. So because translations and transcriptions are a huge part of our offer, because we work with video content a lot, and we decided just to use this model as a pre-trained model and build that on our servers, which means that there is no machine learning happening. There is no training happening. The model has already been trained elsewhere. So imagine that as a kind of a brick that someone else built, someone else trained with large volumes of data, and then we took and built on our platform. So the data never leaves our control. It's never used for training purposes, and everything is super secure. Accuracy has been absolutely great because it really tries to kind of predict what the participants will mention, thinking about kind of the probability of some specific words coming one after the other. In the same way, we're going to launch a new tool that will be a summary tool. So you will have another tab here. So the videos will also have their own little summary AI generated. So when you don't want to read all of the transcripts of or the translations, you will be able to only go through the summaries in a much quicker way. So this is our first tool. The second tool is for analysis specifically. So you can select any kind of content from your Field Notes interface. And you can see here, you now have the option to click on Analyze, and that opens our new analysis sheet functionality. So the AI in this case returns for each search 3 key themes for your consideration. So think about them as 3 areas of interest and focus that the AI gives you. And again, they will come with supporting quotes and clips. So as a researcher, you can see exactly where those things are coming from and what they're based on. And that's the reason why when you create a new analysis sheet, you're given the option to decide what kind of supporting quotes you want. If you want to have something short and snappy for you to copy and paste in a presentation, or something that could be a bit longer. You also have the option to decide what kind of persona you want the AI to embed. And you can also decide how creative you want the AI to be. If you want just to be more of the cautious side, or if you want the AI to be a bit bolder with the findings it returns. When you create an analysis sheet, it takes a couple of minutes to generate. So I'm going to show you one that's already ready to go. In this case, it was a project about Made in Italy. We were asking the participants to explain what Made in Italy means to them. And the AI automatically generates 3 themes. The first one is just about quality, design, and beauty of Made in Italy. You have also an automatically generated blurb to support this theme. And as I mentioned, you always have supporting quotes and the clips, so you can see exactly where it comes from. We have another theme here as a concept of excellence. Again, you have the supporting quotes and the clips. If anything doesn't feel relevant for you, you can always change the themes, remove the quotes that you don't want to keep, change the blurb. So as you can see, this is really in line with our approach, where it's a starting point for your analysis. It's very customizable. It's something that you can build on. It's not probably something that you would share with your clients in a final debrief. It could be something you could share with your clients early on in your analysis if you want to give them some themes that are coming up. But you can see it's very descriptive and it's something you can then build on I think it's great if you have large volumes of content. It helps you put different entries under different buckets and just help you categorize and group different entries. So that really speeds up the analysis work, but it doesn't mean to replace you. And future tools that we're planning to launch later in the year will always follow what we call our manifesto, and that will always really allow you to build your thinking on AI instead of delegating everything to AI. So this is where we are with our journey. Does anyone have any questions for the last few minutes we have?
Anyone? Sorry, I can't see everyone. Just feel free to speak.
Not a question, but more a comment. And thank you so much, Julia.
Yes.
It's super interesting, and I really like your stance on taking a point of view on how to use AI. Obviously supporting researchers instead of replacing us. That's great. And I think that was really helpful because as someone who's trying to work with AI, almost treating it like a colleague, it is really good to think about things like your point of view and the ethics around using it and how to avoid bias and stereotypes. So that's really, really helpful. And also very helpful to see how it's being used in field notes. So yeah, thanks for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I can't see anything in the chat.
Hi, sorry, Simon, I've got a quick question, if that's okay. Sorry, I was one of the ones eating my lunch in the background listening. I'm just curious, when you were going through your system and showing us things when it does the interpretation back like chat AI typically does, my frustration with chat AI when I use it sometimes is that it's always that American English that you get back. And I noticed in your example there was the American English there as well. Can you change that so you can sort of get a proper English translation, if that makes sense?
I'm not sure. I can ask the tech team. I probably hadn't even noticed it was American English because I'm not a native speaker. But yeah, that's a good point. I can check. And one of the things I forgot to mention about analysis sheets is that in this case, they work with an API to ChatGPT. So they talk to the ChatGPT platform. So probably we rely on their settings. But
Okay.
in that case, none of the content is used for training purposes. It's a closed API. We are on a paid plan with ChatGPT.
Okay.
So for transparency, it does talk to the ChatGPT platform, but still in a secure way.
Thank you. Any other questions? We have a couple of minutes still.
Hi, Julia. It's Mike who's on at the start of the call. Hi. Just interested. You said about the new translation tool that you're using, that you switched over from Google Translate. Of course, Google Translate is an AI tool as well. It's based on AI. I guess the key thing here, and it's kind of a point I think which is really important, and I just wanted to check this with you. The translation tool is AI, whereas your analyze tool is generative AI.
Yes, that's correct.
They're very different things, and I think in some of the discussions we have, people don't get that distinction. So the AI is essentially a learning model that's saying, oh, you know, when I've translated this from Italian to English, this is the likely outcome. Generative AI saying, oh, I'm going to make up a story about this stuff, you know, very broadly. Is that right, the way the tools work?
Yeah, because like the translation and transcription is based on a linguistic model. So it really works kind of assessing the probability of a specific structure in the speech to come up, really. So like if I say, oh, I can't wait to, chances are very high that I will just say something like meet you, talk to you based on the context. So it doesn't try to translate, to listen to the different words and translate one word at a time, which I think is very interesting as an approach. Yeah, Google is an AI, but it was not as good as the current one. I don't know like the technicalities and why they didn't crack translations and transcription, or they haven't yet, but Whisper has been really life-changing for our projects, to be completely honest with you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
We've got time for one more. Obviously, when I send the recording round, I will put Julia's contact details, so you can always ask questions afterwards as well. Any other questions?
I have one, and I'll try to keep it quick. I'd love to get your point of view on the quality of generative AI in theming up what you just showed us. I mean, those seemed like some really good results. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I have used I've been playing around with different AI generative models and feeding them sets of data just as an experiment to see what they spit out in terms of themes or how it might analyze. And the results are sort of usually okay at best, fairly top line or sometimes shocking at worst, depending on the platform, and maybe also my data sets are flawed. But how have you found like the quality of the themes in terms of like how thorough and intelligent and insightful they are? Or is it kind of...
So we launched a couple of weeks ago, so we're just like trying more. What I've noticed is that I don't think there are particularly groundbreaking themes. You won't find your next insight in there, but it's very nice just to help you. It's very useful to categorize and just put different themes under different buckets. And for example, we had a client yesterday and they tried our AI tool for an internal project. And all of the clients were in there as participants, and they were sharing their feedback or field notes from the app as participants. And so the AI analysis sheet really broke down what they thought about field notes under 3 different areas, like what they liked, what they didn't like as much. And it really took me 5 minutes to go through all of those entries of 20 people or so, and just like, okay, this is what's coming up, and these are the participants who are sitting there. And I would have definitely got to the same point myself. It wasn't anything like particularly like insightful, but it was a very quick way to just understand, like at a glance, what was going on with my sample.
Amazing, thank you. So almost like a really helpful tool for that first stage coding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay, so we've run out of time. So thank you so much, Julia, for that. As I said, I will circulate it. It will be on the website as well as a recording. And please come to another ICG event soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank
You
you.
too. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.